Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I am joined by the fabulous and wonderful Holly Brand. Holly was Miss Mississippi's outstanding teen. I can't remember the year, but she'll tell us. Miss Mississippi 2021. She was a finalist or a semifinalist on The Voice, and she's now in Nashville and doing all kinds of fun things, and I can't wait to catch up. So, Holly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Absolutely.
Good.
And I'm
Well,
even better because I'm talking to you now.
oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be talking to you. Yes, I was Miss Mississippi's teen in 2017 and then Miss Mississippi in 2021 and then competed on season 23 of The Voice and made the semifinals on Team Kelly. And now I live in Nashville where I pursue music full time and I'm also a newlywed. So that's fun too.
So much fun. And I met you when you were 15.
2015, I was a little baby.
I love it. So I've gotten to watch Holly go through all of these wonderful transitions and moves in her life. But catch me up because we haven't talked in a few months. So what's new?
Well, the newest thing is the move to Nashville. My husband and I moved up here in January, so I've been up here for about a couple months. And I spend most of my time now since The Voice traveling for performances and gigs and also writing. Before, I had really only written by myself, and I didn't really know a lot about writing music. But since the show, I've been doing a lot of co-writes. I would come up to Nashville about once a month. We were in Mississippi for about 6 months after the show, and then we decided to make the move. And so now I spend most of my days writing and traveling as a full-time musician, living the dream.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be able to talk to you on She Wins. One of the things that we do every time is I ask some of the same questions. Okay. So I want to know how you define winning.
I think winning for me as a competitor and now as an artist looks a little bit different. As a competitor, I viewed winning as just being content in how I performed on stage. So whether or not I actually won the crown, was I happy with how I performed? Did I feel like I kind of left it all out on the stage? And that's a philosophy that I lived by during my Miss America and Miss America's teen years, and also a philosophy that I lived by on The Voice too. I was super fortunate to make it to the top 8, but my goal for each performance was just to be satisfied and just to be happy with what I did, and be able just to look back as I watched it on TV and feel like I couldn't have done anything better, that that was my best. But now as an artist, I feel like winning looks like growth for me. So maybe putting myself in situations that are uncomfortable, but that I know is going to be good for me and is going to help me grow as an artist. I think that is probably where I'd be winning now, is just what can make me better and how can I grow from a situation?
Ooh, so now I have to ask you, has there been a recent uncomfortable situation that you needed in order to grow that you're willing to tell us about?
Absolutely. Since the show, I have been able to do a lot more longer gigs. So I've been singing my whole life. My parents said that I could sing before I could talk, not actual words, but I grew up on stage and have always been comfortable on stage. But I was accustomed to performing and then getting off of stage. So only performing for maybe 2 minutes at a time. Sometimes when I was younger, when I would sing in Nashville, I would do like a set of 6, which is
Mm-hmm.
usually about 15 to 20 minutes. And now I'm headlining, a festival in Mississippi in May where I'm going to be singing for 90 minutes. And so after the show, I did my very first concert in Tennessee, and it was about an hour show. I had never done anything like that. I'm going to be completely honest, I was a little terrified. I was like, these people are coming to see me, and I've never done this before. And I was also sick. I had lost my voice that week too. So for me, like perfect timing. If you know me, I get sick a lot during my big performances. So I was like, of course. But I knew that it was something that I had to do to learn what it was going to be like to be a touring artist. And being Miss Mississippi kind of gave me a little bit of insight on that because I traveled so much. But being on stage for longer than just 15 minutes, or not just singing 1 or 2 songs and stepping off stage, like truly being an entertainer and doing a whole show was something that I didn't have a ton of experience in. But since the show, I've been able to do that a lot more, and I've had more opportunities to do that. And it's made me so much better and helped me grow so much as an artist. And now I'm comfortable doing the 90-minute sets.
Not well, I'm sure you have plenty of music to share for 90 minutes. You've got quite the repertoire, I'm imagining. If I know you.
Yes,
If I know
I
you.
do. I love country. I also grew up on Christian music as well, and that's the genre that I do. I do country Christian. But now that I've been writing a lot, I have a lot of unreleased songs, and the plan is
Ooh.
to release music this year. But I love being able to share my originality and my creativity with audiences, as well as my favorite songs that I grew up listening to.
Okay, if someone wants to follow you, just I'm not even wait to the end. I just want to know if someone wants to follow you, how do they follow you to find out when you release these new songs?
You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Miss Holly Brand. And then I have a music page on Facebook that's just Holly Brand.
Okay, good. Because I want to know when you release these songs for sure. Okay, so tell me a defining moment in your life. I mean, I can imagine there's several, winning Miss Mississippi Scene, winning Miss Mississippi, being on The Voice. Is there another one, or is it one of those that maybe is the biggest defining moment for you?
I would say probably the first defining moment I had was when I opened for Blake Shelton when I was 10. I there was a talent competition in my hometown and I won, and the grand prize was getting to open for Blake when he came to my hometown for a concert. And fun fact, I was the last person that sang on stage before him. I was 10 years old. I had never really been in a concert environment before. And that was the moment that I realized I wanted to be an artist. Up until then, I loved singing and, sang all the time and was always traveling and singing. But I don't think really thought that big about it. I didn't think
Mm-hmm.
about it as something as a career. I was only 10. But then when I had that moment of being on stage in front of a huge audience and hearing the audience react to my song and to be connected in that way, that definitely helped me realize like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And had I not had that moment, who knows where I would be with music. So I'm definitely thankful for that. And a really cool full circle moment is on The Voice. I got to tell Blake that. Even though he was the only coach that didn't turn for me, just having the opportunity to show him the picture and the backstage pass and to thank him in person for helping inspire me was really, really cool.
I remember when you were competing for Mississippi's Outstanding Teen and maybe even Miss Mississippi. I don't know. But I remember having conversations with you about what do you want to do with your life? And there was always music was always part of it. But I remember sometimes you would be a little less than confident that it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
How did that transition, if you can even put it into words, go from, I don't know that this is what I'm going to be able to do, to I'm moving to Nashville and I'm confident. And obviously the voice helped with that. But was there anything that helped you to build your confidence that this is something you could pursue?
I think it's a few things, and I would be lying if I sat here and said that I don't have moments where I am discouraged and feel like, is this really attainable for me? But the voice definitely helped. Being Miss Mississippi and competing at Miss America helped. You have helped me with my mental management to just believe in myself. But I think the main thing that has gotten me to this point is just my faith.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past, I would say, a couple of years, I have just really been just diving into the word and spending more time with the Lord, especially this year, especially since the show, like just learning what it means to completely rely on Him and to completely trust Him. And I've had this dream since I was a little girl, and one of my favorite verses is that the Lord gives us the desires of our heart. And that doesn't mean that He just gives us what we want, but it means when we're aligned with His plan and His will, and we desire that for our lives, that He gives us the desires that He has for us. And that has always been music. And I feel like at this point, as much as I've prayed about it and just spent so much time in prayer, like seeking, like, Lord, what is your will for my life? I would hope that by now He would have given me a different desire. Um, but I really just have faith that He's going to make it happen, and it's going to be in His timing. And I just believe that it's going to be in a way where I don't have a choice but to give Him the glory, where it's going to just completely point towards Him, where people are going to say, like, the Lord did that. And I'm excited for that, but I just have complete faith that he's going to have his way and he's going to do what he's going to do. And he's already provided me with so many opportunities. And there's been so much confirmation since I've been here in Nashville. But I think that was the first big step, is that him placing that desire, like, it's time to move. It's time for you to go do this and pursue this fully. So we moved out here on hope and prayer. And he has definitely just every single day given us confirmation and peace that this is where we're supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing.
I'm confident it's what you're supposed to be doing. I've thought that since the moment I met you. I knew. I'm like, she's going to do really big things. If she doesn't get in her own way, she's going to do really big things.
Well, you have definitely helped me with that, so I have to credit that to you as well.
So tell me a little bit about that. Are there any takeaways from even our time together that have helped you even in this process?
I think the biggest takeaway that I have always gone back to is, you would probably tell the story better than me, but I remember before every competition, it was usually like the day before I left, I would always call you and we would go over our thought process for the week. But the thing that I always remember is, I think it's the angel story, is
Yeah,
the way that
it's so funny.
You know it better than me.
It's so funny that you say that, because I interviewed Emmy Perkins, which you recommended her to me, and then you crowned her Miss Mississippi, and she said the same thing, like the angel story. So for those of you who don't know, it's the idea and the concept that you already win. And then you go into your hotel room and you're taking your crown off and you're taking your sash off and you're thinking to yourself, wow, this is really cool. I'm about to like embark on this great journey. And then an angel appears and says, Holly, I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to let you repeat this past week, but the results are going to be the same. So how would you handle the week of Miss Mississippi if you knew for sure you were going to win? And so that's kind of the story. And then you were like, oh, well, I guess I had fun.
Yeah, I would be so carefree and just have complete peace. And that is something I've just never forgotten, that story. And it definitely helped me get through Miss Mississippi week, for sure, and during my teen years. But it gives me the peace and reminds me that the story's already written, that God has already ordained my steps and has already written my entire story. And so once I realized that, the burden of making something happen or making the right decision was off of me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew that, like, there's nothing for me to worry about. Like, there's nothing for me to carry. He has already done that for me. He's already written it. He's already made it happen. And something that I think is cool that I have to remind myself about God is that he's not bound by time. And so even though I might have a certain timeline for my life and a certain way that I thought things would go, his is different, but that's because he already has it all figured out. Like, he knows how the story is going to end. And I cannot tell you the peace that I have every single day, like walking in that, knowing God has already done this. All I have to do is respond. And so that transcends beyond just the week of Miss Mississippi or the week of Miss America. It's just a good life lesson to understand that it's already done, it's already happened, and all you have to do is be still and live it out.
If you could think about like what you've gotten so much advice over the years. I mean, I think you've probably gotten so many. Anytime you do pageant, I feel like everybody's telling you something that you need to do, need to remember, need to know, make sure you XYZ. What's something that you've been told or something that you've learned, or it could even be a Bible verse or something that you've gleaned from the word that has helped you maybe the most or made the biggest impact on you?
Just to be yourself. I feel like people say that all the time. And I remember that person being told that at 14 and 15 years old, being like, "Ugh, really? That's all you have for me, just to be myself?" Because I didn't know what that meant. Like, I didn't know what that looked like. I remember watching other girls compete, other women in the position that I wanted to be in, and I would try to answer things the way that they would or carry myself the way that they would. It's easy to do that as an artist as well, is to look at somebody who's successful and think, okay, I have to do that. Um, but that never works because it's not genuine, it's not authentic, and you can only be that for a certain amount of time. And once I learned the importance of finding my voice and what I believed in, what my convictions were, and just who I wanted to be as a title holder and now as an artist, everything else just kind of falls into place. And I know that it sounds like a generic statement that we hear all the time, like just do you and you'll be fine. But what that really means is just figure out who you are. Like do some soul searching, figure
Mm-hmm.
out what you believe in, what you're passionate about, and just who you want to be, and everything else will work itself out.
Something that hits me when you're talking about that, because I do think that, especially teenage girls, like it's really difficult to say, yes, you can say just be yourself, but they haven't determined necessarily who they want to be yet. And I think something that people can do, and I don't know if they do it, is think about where do you want to go and who do you need to become in order to get there.
Yes.
And go ahead and keep your personality, keep your spunk, keep your, your zest for life and all of those things. But you can change like the habits and attitudes that you need to change in order to get there. But I think a lot of times girls just don't, or people, I guess I should say, just don't think deep enough to
Mm-hmm.
figure out, well, who do I want to be? I can be anybody I want to be, but I need to be me. I don't need to try to be a replica of someone else. It's like that Oscar
Exactly.
Wilde quote, be yourself, everyone else is taken.
Yeah. Yes, I love that quote. Yeah, I definitely think, it took some time to do soul searching for me as well. I competed in teen 3 years before I won, and one of the years I took a break. Like I took a
Mm-hmm.
whole year off. Because I knew like I needed some time to mature and figure out who I wanted to be. And just also be patient in the process. Like do research too. Like watch all the interviews. Like with the internet now, you can look up anything. And as an artist, like you can look up performances, concerts, interviews from your favorite artists. Like it's so easy now to do that soul searching and to figure out who you want to be, but it also takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So don't rush it either. Like let yourself take all the time that you need to figure out what that looks like for you. And then when you're ready, like go for it full force.
Okay, The Voice. Okay, if you could go back and give yourself any advice, like what's something you wish you would have known, like going into it?
Oh gosh. The Voice was honestly such an incredible experience. If I if I could go back and tell myself one thing, I think I think I would tell myself to not stress as much. I stressed out over the smallest things when I was competing. And it would be different depending on what round I was in. I am a perfectionist. You know this about
Mm-hmm.
me. And so sometimes I would stress about a certain note that I was hitting. Like, is this perfectly on pitch and on key? And am I giving all that I have to this song? And knowing that I didn't know I was going to make it to the semifinals, it's kind of the same angel story vibe. If I had known how it was going to work out, I wish that I would have just slowed down a little bit and enjoyed the experience. I was in LA for a long time with a bunch of other artists that were out there chasing the same dream as I was. And I wish that I could have just soaked in that moment a little bit more of like how cool that is to be out there with all the same people who completely understand what you're going through. And to recognize that this is never going to happen again. I'm never going to be in LA by myself with all of these other people. Like, we will never get this moment back. It's really not worth it to spend it worrying about something that you can't control. And like I said, is already written for you how it's going to be.
I interviewed Dr. Penny Hedlevet. I think that's how you say her last name. And she said, if it's out of your control, it needs to be out of your head. I'm like,
Yes,
oh, that is so true. And I love that concept. Like, if it's out of your control, it should be out of your head.
exactly.
So, are you still in contact with everybody you met?
Oh yeah. Our cast was very close. We had a short season. I don't know if it was because it was Blake's last season, but our season was shorter than other seasons in the past, and so we had smaller teams. The season before us, I think, had 12 to 14 maybe artists per team, and we only had 10.
Mm-hmm.
So there were only 80 artists that flew out for blind auditions, and then after that it was 40 for who made a team. So we became very close and hung out together all the time. We were also still under COVID restrictions, so we couldn't go anywhere. So we would just all hang out in the hotel lobby pretty much every day, either playing cards or, singing music, having conversations. But we still have group chats, and a lot of the artists live in Nashville, so I've been able to meet up with them in person and hang out with them more.
Okay, that's really fun. Get to
Mhm.
meet some lifelong friends. And then you're pursuing the same dream. So you get to help each other along the way, maybe brainstorm, have some fun conversations, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure. Also for artists that have been here a lot longer than me on the show, giving me just insight. I have a friend who's been here for about 8 years, that was on the show, and I've only been here for 2 months. And so we met up and got coffee and caught up and everything. But it was good to hear just, advice from her and things that I needed, I guess, to be aware of, like going into this crazy industry. It's a very, very hard industry, but very rewarding.
Tell me about a time when you didn't win, but you learned a valuable lesson.
The first thing that comes to mind is in 2015. It was my second year competing in Outstanding Teen. And I thought that I was ready. I was like, I did my first year. I've done this. Like, I'm ready to go. I got this. And I prepared harder than I've ever prepared for anything in my life that year. And I have to say, I am content with my performance that year. For a 15-year-old and for how I had prepared, I still would go back and I wouldn't change a thing. I think I performed to the best of my ability at that time. And I got third runner up. And I was definitely disappointed and discouraged. And that was actually the year that I ended up taking an entire year off. But I had to learn the importance of figuring out what my weaknesses are. It's important to look in the mirror and go, okay, what's not working here? Clearly, something's not working, and we have to figure out what it is. And that can be a little uncomfortable, but it's necessary for growth. And the other thing that I learned that I took away is the importance of not letting those moments define me, not letting it hinder me from moving forward. It would have been really easy for me to just quit after that year and just to be bitter and to never step foot on a Miss America stage again. And, praise God that I didn't do that, because it earned me a full ride to college. It earned me an opportunity to compete at a historic Miss America competition, the 100th anniversary. And the same thing happened to me in 2019 as well. My first year in Miss did not even make the top 15. I was very discouraged after that. And so I learned the importance of not letting moments like that set you back and hinder you from moving forward. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be disappointed, but you can't stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And to learn from that opportunity, figure out what didn't work for me and what do I need to do to be better and to get where I want to be.
So, what did you change from, your first time at Miss Mississippi to your second one when you won?
A few things. I grew up a little bit. Had just finished my freshman year at college, my first year in Miss Mississippi, so I definitely had more education and more experience by the time that I competed the year that I won. I was 2 years older. COVID happened my second year, so I would say 3 years of prep, but 2 years of competition experience. It changed the way that I thought about things. So when I would go into class, I realized that my weakness was the way that I spoke. I didn't, know a lot about what was going on around me, and I needed to change how I viewed things and how I spoke about things and my experience. And as a communications major, every single class that I went to, I just really listened to my professors, like how do they talk? How do they speak? So I grew my vocabulary a little bit, but I also just became interested in things that were important. I took political classes to learn about both sides of the spectrum. I would listen to debates every single morning. The importance of not just listening to one side, but listening to all sides and to what people have to say about it. And I also wanted to look at things from a business perspective as well. My mom and I own a boutique. It's called Brand New You, shopbrandnewyou.com. Have to plug that in. But I had to take my experience as a business owner into the job of Miss Mississippi. Miss America was going through a lot of changes and a lot of identity, I would say, issues at the time. And I wanted to bring to the table as a title holder how to brand the organization. And from a business perspective, what can we do to reestablish the relevancy of Miss America. And Heather, you and I came up with a marketing strategy called Building the Brand, and it's still one of my favorite things that we were able to work on together, and something that I was proud to bring to the job of Miss Mississippi. But just the importance of developing a new perspective and figuring out what worked for me, and then just doing it without having any second thought, like knowing this is what works for me, this is what I believe in, and I believe that if I have the opportunity, this could work. And it did.
So here's what we're going to do. You and I are going to have another conversation where we're going to talk about the building the brand idea and concept for my Solutions for Pageantry members on Patreon. I'm so excited. If you're not already a Patreon member, I highly recommend that you join. Holly and I are going to do 2 episodes. We're going to do one for women where she's going to share some insights, I don't know, maybe in how to build that confidence. We'll see. And then one for pageant members. So I'm so excited. Holly, thank you so much for catching us up on what's new with you. Any last minute things? Is there anything you want everybody to know? Do you know when you're going to release music yet?
I don't have an exact date yet. I would say when I was coming up here in the fall, I thought I'm going to release by February. And then I started writing a lot more. And I'm in a place right now where I'm not going to rush it. I wanted to build my catalog first, and I definitely have songs that I'm proud of. I've figured out as an artist exactly what I want to say and exactly who I want to be. I'm excited to bring a little bit more diversity to Christian music, as a Christian artist with a country vibe. So I know that what I want to say, and I know that I have songs that I'm proud of, but I don't want to rush it. I want to just soak in the moment of just writing and connecting, and then in a few months, wink, wink, release some singles and possibly an EP.
Awesome. Well, when you do, I'll be happy to share your links to all of the things. So thank you so much, Holly. Remember to follow her on social media at Miss Holly Brand. Thank you for being here. Love you.
Thanks for having me. Love you.